Okay guys, I'm Craig here from VERVE Fitness. I'm just going to take you through some basic pointers on how to install and assemble our Tori functional trainer slash attachment. So what we've got here is we've effectively got two uprights and we've got our cross beams laid out on the floor. What I've already done, I've pre-assembled the lower cross beam, just bolting that into the uprights there. Height matters, so it matters to go into the bottom holes here. So you can see here I've gone into the bottom hole and obviously spaced it out to where the other bolt goes through. That's your basic instruction. From here, we're going to install our guide poles, we're going to install our plates, and we're going to install our cable system and pulleys. So with the guide poles, guys, they are specific as to which way you put them up. As you can see here, we've got a little hole down the bottom here. That's just part of the manufacturing process. That's not that relevant, but it will identify the two ends, because on the other hand, we have our threaded component. This threaded component needs to be facing upwards. So how to install this is obviously we need our little grommet, our stopper, that goes down the bottom, and all we do then is slide the grommet onto the guide pole and into the lower cross beam. Okay guys, from here, it's up to us now to install the weight stacks one at a time. This is where a mate comes in handy. You've got the boxes unloaded, you can unload all the weight stacks, but it's important to make sure these weight stacks are facing the right way up. You see this little spacer on top here? That just indicates that that's the top. And what you do is you simply just slide that on. So with a mate, if you need to, you can actually start angling this up, but otherwise it's quite relatively easy. As long as you line them up, all the way down to the bottom. And you just stack those on one at a time. By the time you get to a certain level of stacking these weights, you'll have to stand your rack upright or your attachment upright, and then continue stacking. You'll need a mate, especially for this part. It starts getting a bit tricky. Okay guys, once you've stacked all the main stack on, you reach your top plate. Now it's really important not to do this last, is to make sure your little pin is attached inside the centerpiece, so when you slide that top plate on, okay, we're all set. Now we're set, guys. Once again, I'm not going to be able to hold this. You need a mate to help you. We're set to put our slider on and our top cross beam. So with the slider mechanism, guys, it's important to have this top pulley wheel that shapes like a D shape through here, facing upwards. You've got your handle, should be facing outside. So I had to gain the aid of a stool to get me to reach up top. Just slide that on, locks in, so that's out of the way. Now it's time to put the top beam on. Okay guys, so as you can see, put that top cross beam on, tighten up nice and tight. See the guide poles hanging here free. Our next step is to insert the bolts into these guide poles to make sure they're all nice and tight. Okay, just to make sure you guys are aware, this is where the longer bolts go in, because we've put the pulley wheel, the upper pulley wheel casing on there. So this is where the longer bolts, the 110mm M16 bolts go in. Okay guys, so when we're installing these bolts at the top of these guide poles, bear in mind they don't need to be too tight, okay? So what I've done here is I've just got my Allen key coming from the top of the cross beam just to secure it, and I'm twisting with my bottom hand to thread this guide pole onto the bolt. It's up, all you've got to do is nip it up and it's done. Nip it up, that's it guys. Go any further guys, before we start installing that cable, we've got to put our first cover for our pulley wheels onto our top plate. We use that using our little bolt there. Screw it in. You may need a longer, if you've got one, a longer Allen key just to get this one going. So once it's in, you just nip it up nice and tight. Ready to install the cable. Now before we start installing the cable, guys, please take note, I've taken the top pulley wheel out of this guide and the top pulley wheel out of this guide. That's how we're going to get started. In fact, you'll notice no pulley wheels are installed just yet. We're going to install those pulley wheels as we go. here. Okay, so it's important when you're installing the pulleys, guys, not to forget the shims that go into these holes to support it so it's nice and stable. Just whacking this in nice and loose to start with. Just make sure, guys, before you start tensioning the cable, notice that there, the guide cable there, or the pulley cable there, is outside the pulley wheel. It's important to make sure that sits in the center. Then you can tighten up the pulley wheels and you can tighten the tension on the cable. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much the assembly, the main assembly part done now. Just gonna make sure that all the nuts and bolts are tight. The pulley cable is running through the center of the pulley wheels. The cable itself runs outside your cross beams, not on the inside of your cross beams. That's really important as well.